All right, so welcome. And this morning we're going to start seated. So if you have a chair or on the floor is totally fine if that's comfortable for you. So our theme, why am I blurry? Come on, camera, pick me up. There we go. All right, so today, last week our theme was fire. And one of the qualities of fire is that it gives us light. And I've been watching the moon grow, and I think it's due to be full probably by the weekend for Halloween, which is amazing. But I was reflecting on the light of the moon and how the moonlight is a reflection, of course, of the sunlight. And it's a much cooler, softer kind of a light. And as we move into the darker time of the year, and I also believe that the clocks change this weekend as well, so we're going to see a shift in the light. But to really remember that we can carry that light in our hearts through the dark times. So when it's dark outside, emotionally, we feel more dark, less light inside, unless we can find a way of sort of harnessing that light and being with it and carrying it with us as we go through. So today we're going to focus on the light of the moon and working with half moon pose. So if you have a chair or blocks, that would be probably really handy today. All right, so I will meet you seated. So I'm here on a chair, but if you're more comfortable on the floor, that is absolutely fine as well. So one of the other things that the moon reminds us is that even when we feel fragmented, when we feel broken in half, we're always actually whole. And there's a beautiful chant that some of you may have heard that talks about this wholeness, that we can't be, that nothing can be taken away from us to make us less whole, and nothing can be added to make us more whole. And the moon is this beautiful, full structure all the time, but we're only able to see parts of it at times. And so the moon reminds us, even when we feel fragmented, when we feel separated or small, that there is this essential wholeness inside of us. So let's take a few breaths. You can close your eyes and you might imagine in your mind some aspect of the moon. It could be that great big full glowing ball of light, so bright that it creates shadows. It may be the tiniest sliver of the new moon, or perhaps somewhere in between, maybe a half moon or a growing moon or a shrinking moon. So finding that aspect of the moon that speaks to you this morning and bringing that into your mind. Feeling the coolness of that light. Not necessarily coolness in temperature, but sort of brings us to a kind of cool-headedness. The moon is said to nourish our minds, to bring clarity to our thoughts. Take a moment to envision that aspect of the moon that speaks to you today. And as you breathe in, drawing in the qualities that you imagine your moon to possess. The ability to change and transform, breathing that in. The ability to see the light of the moon. And perhaps feeling encouraged by the changes that we go through and the moon goes through. Yet knowing deep down we are completely whole and perfect as we are, even as we go through those changes. Let's start to bring a little movement in for the spine. So lifting the heart, taking a breath in, and then exhaling, rounding the back, letting the chin come in toward the chest. And starting to feel that movement through the length of your spine. Inhaling as you arch or extend the spine, exhaling as you round, flex the spine. Feel the life energy of the breath moving deeply in. And as you round the back, you can use a little tiny bit of abdominal contraction to draw the breath more fully out. Okay, let's come back to a neutral spine. Let the arms down to your sides. We'll lift the shoulders up, breathing in, and then roll back and down as you exhale. Inhale, lifting. Exhale, coming back and down. Feel that rotation fully in your shoulders. Notice what you're aware of. See if one side feels different from the other for you. And there's no need to change anything, and certainly no need to judge anything. Just noticing. Great. And then let's bring the hands back. You can either clasp them behind you or hold on to the sides of your chair if you're on a chair. And lift the heart. Let the shoulders just kind of relax. You're not pulling them back. Let them drop forward. And take a few breaths into that space of the heart, filling the lungs, filling the rib cage. And then releasing, lifting the arms straight up. And we'll come into a forward bend. So exhaling, hinge forward at your hips. Let your head release at the end of your exhale. And then inhale to lift. And keep the arms soft or reach right up if that feels good for you. Exhale, coming forward. Find your own rhythm and flow. Right, and this time lowering the arms down onto the legs or wherever they're comfortable. And take a few breaths, simply noticing the effect of that little bit of movement that we've done, a little deeper breathing, a little bit of movement opening the spine. And then let's take the chin down toward the front of the chest, with the back of the neck. Lengthen for a few breaths, drop your shoulders down. And then a little side to side movement. Take your chin an inch to the right, an inch to the left. And then maybe a couple of inches, go side to side. And keep going side to side a little more each time until the chin comes right over toward the collarbone and swings gently back the other way. If it feels right for you, you can make a full circle with your head. You want to always be cautious not to lose control of your head. So you want to keep it coming across the shoulders with lots of ease rather than letting the head fall back. If you're circling, you can do a few circles the other way. If you're still half circling, keep going side to side a few more times. Right, and then coming back to the center, letting the head lift so that it sits over the spine. Tuck the chin slightly back and down so the back of the neck grows long. Lifting the crown of the head as you sink down into your sit bones and feel that length through your torso. Find that balanced place where there's the least amount of effort to sit. So hips centered under the shoulders, shoulders under the head. Relax your jaw and take a few more breaths here. We'll add a gentle twist. So you can start by lifting the arms straight up. And as you go to the side, taking one or both hands to the leg, or the back hand could come to the chair or the floor. Lifting as you twist, and then inhale, center, and twisting the other direction. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist. Go at your own pace, and as always, if the breath rhythm doesn't work for you, just breathe normally. Do the movement at a pace that feels right. Do one or two more, and if it feels right for you, you can stay for a few breaths, and if it feels better to keep moving, go ahead and keep moving. When you're staying, focus on relaxing the shoulders, lengthening the spine. So you're dropping down into the sit bones, lifting through the crown of the head, and you're not putting a ton of pressure against the leg or the floor of the chair. You're really just placing the hands there so you could let go and you wouldn't sort of uncoil. And then back to the center. If you're staying, you can stay on the other side as well. So again, you're just placing the hands, using the hand behind you perhaps to support, lengthen your spine. And breathing here. And then make your way back to the center. We'll lift both arms up. And you can either bring the hands onto the thighs here, or you can let the body come down toward the thighs and let the arms swing back behind you. So inhaling up, either support your hands on your thighs if you need that support for your back, or come forward, let the arms lift behind you. Good, this time as you come upright, we'll stay upright, placing the hands on the knees or the thighs. And if you're on a chair, you might widen your feet a little wider so that you're nicely balanced here. And we'll do some circles, taking the torso in. Circle in one direction, we'll go both ways. It doesn't matter which direction you start with. And then gradually go the other way as well. And tuning into what you notice, how it shifts or changes as you change direction. Right, and then gradually make your way back to the center and keeping the feet a little wider so you've got good balance. If you're 2 feet on the ground, and again, if you're sitting cross-legged, that's fine. And if your legs are starting to fall asleep, you can also, of course, stretch them and move them at any point. So we're going to bring the hand to the chair, or you can place the hand on the ground if you happen to be sitting on the ground. We'll lift the other arm up, and we'll start by pressing down into that sit bone on that side. Press down, reach up through that arm. Palm can face where the other hand would be if it were up. But we're going to use that other hand for support. And take a moment to breathe. So imagine you're breathing into your armpit, into the side of the rib, into the waist, even into the hip. If you find yourself sort of crunching your shoulder up, see if you can bring a little bit of ease there. Relax your jaw, relax the shoulder a little bit. Right, and then let's release that arm. Pause for a moment. Maybe just notice, do you feel any difference from one side to the other with just that very simple position? You may not, and that's fine. And then let's try the other side. So reaching up. Again, if there's any issue with your shoulder, just bend the arm a little bit or think about drawing the shoulder down, relaxing it a bit rather than having it, in fact, for everyone, rather than having it up by the ear, just a little bit of ease, dropping down, and then breathing into the armpit, the side ribs, the waist, the hip, and really sinking into that sit bone. Make sure you're not crunching up your other shoulder as well. And breathe. Breathe into that long side. And then let's slowly release that arm. I'll do a few rounds of the seated cat-cow as we started with. So inhaling, arching, exhaling, round. Okay, and then let's come back to neutral. We're coming to sit comfortably on both sit bones. We'll take the first arm and reach it up again. And this time, again, holding the chair or the floor, we're going to move. So breathing in, reach up, and then exhale, reach over. Try not to lose the connection of your sit bone with your seat, the chair, the ground. So inhale up, exhale, moving to the side. There's a tendency as you go to the side to kind of twist and bring that upper shoulder forward. So maybe even think about taking the upper shoulder a little back to get a little more into the side. Just really tune into what feels okay in your shoulder too. So, maybe this is a better option or this is a better option for you. If it feels right, you can stay a few breaths. Again, it's not about how far you go to the side, but really lengthening. So press down again into that sit bone. Breathing into that long side now with a little bit of extra space, thanks to the side bend. And then let's come up to the center. And you can relax both arms. Take a moment to notice now again, what feels different from one side to the other. And then when you're ready, we'll do the other side. So reaching up with that arm, the other hand can come to the chair or the floor. I'm going to start by really lengthening, breathing in, and then exhale, moving to the side. So I want to remind you, anytime you're bracing yourself, you want to bend your arm. You don't want to crank your shoulder up into your neck. So I'm bending my arm as I go to the side, inhaling up. I'm also thinking about keeping that upper shoulder moving slightly back instead of twisting forward. If you like, you can stay a few breaths if you prefer. Go ahead and keep moving. Again, it's not about how far you go, but really maintaining the integrity, the length in both sides of the body, breathing into that space that you've created. And then gradually coming back to the center. Arms come forward, we'll lift the shoulders, roll them back and down. And then lift the arms, breathing in, and we're going to come again into a forward bend. The hands to the thighs, letting the head release forward. Inhaling, lifting, exhaling, forward. Great. And let's release. Pause for a moment. Feel both sit bones on the ground or on your chair. Feel the length of your spine, crown of the head lifting towards the ceiling, shoulders dropping down, jaw relaxed. And as you breathe, maybe noticing the space that you've created inside, and you might imagine that silvery light of the moon filling that space as you breathe in. That moonlight that nourishes clarity of thought, nourishes the mind. We talk about being cool-headed, right? Being rational. And these are qualities that are said to come from the moon. And it's softer, less direct light. One more big breath in, full breath out, and then we'll make our way to stand. So take your time, however works for you to get there. Have a friend sharing my mat again today. Seems to be where she likes to be. In front of the fire on the mat, I can't understand why. So we'll work with a little breath and movement series that we'll visualize as modeling the phases of the moon. So breathing in, taking the arms up, and this signifies the full moon, bringing the hands together and back down through the heart. So making a circle, inhaling and lifting, like we're creating that beautiful glowing orb of moon around us. That silvery, soft, clear light of the moon, shining in its fullness. Envisioning that beautiful silvery light shining in and all around you. Okay. And then eventually we're going to bring the hands together either overhead, if that's okay with your shoulders, or it could be hands to the heart, if that feels like a better position for you. So I'm going to have my hands overhead, and I'm going to keep the elbows bent just to make it a little bit softer for my shoulders. Inhale, lifting both sides of the torso. Exhale and moving into a half moon position to the side. Inhale here, reach out. One more breath, exhale, and then back to center. And then the other half of the moon, exhale to the side. Inhale, long torso. Exhale here, and inhale back to center. And then to signify the full moon will come into, new moon will come into a forward bend, into that darkness. And here for a few breaths, you can brace yourself, hands or elbows against your thighs, or if you prefer, you can bring your hands to your chair. We'll take a couple breaths here, let the head release. And feel yourself going inward into the darkness, the place of renewal, where we rest and emerge again into that brightness, coming up into that full moon, reaching up, hands together, coming down to the heart. And pause here. We'll go through that sequence again. We'll lift up this time. And again, big circle spreading that light all around you. Again. Do that one more time. Really tuning into the energy of the moon. The moon's always shifting and changing. As we are, as everything is, in fact, coming up and pausing here. Again, it could be hands at the heart, if that's a better position for you, or overhead. Taking a breath in. Exhale, moving to one side. Remember that upper shoulder moving back a little, and it doesn't matter how far you go to the side. It's not a contest to go as far as you can, but to just feel that little bit of stretch. Inhale, center. Exhale to the other side. We'll hold for a couple of breaths, so don't hold your breath. And coming up, and then coming into that forward fold. Bend your knees, hands or elbows onto your thighs or hands to your chair. Let your head release and take a few breaths here. The darkness of the moon is where we go inside, where we refresh ourselves. And then coming all the way up, reaching up again, bringing the hands together at the center of the heart. Pause here, relax your jaw, your shoulders. Relax the muscles of your face. and then release. So let's take the chair now. If you have a chair, this is optional, the chair. You can do it without for sure. We'll have the taller part of the chair close to us, and then feet a little wider. Looks like I get to use my mat now. Feet a little wider, and making sure you can reach the top part of your chair. And then we'll turn the foot that's facing the chair towards the chair. And the back foot can be on whatever angle feels comfortable. So some people find it turned out a little is comfortable. For me, turned in a little bit is comfortable, or it could be straight. And then as you bend your knee, you want to look down at your knee and make sure it's pointing straight at your chair. So it's not kind of, if you look from the side, it's not twisting in, but moving straight out. So the toes point toward the chair, the knees point toward the chair, the hand is on the chair, and we'll inhale, lift up the opposite arm, and exhale, reach to the side, using the chair for support. Now, if you don't want to use a chair or you don't have one handy, the knee can also be your support. So lifting up, exhale, reaching over, reaching up. Breathe in as you reach up, exhale, over. And then we'll stay for a few breaths. So if it's comfortable to have this upper arm up in the air, great, leave it there. If not, bring it back behind your back, turn the palm behind you, and then think about rotating a little to lift the shoulders so your torso is straight sideways, so you're not turning toward the chair here. Either position for the arm straight up. If you want a little more stretch, you can take the arm right overhead and reach out as you press into the back heel. Let's lift up and release. And bring your feet parallel again, releasing the hand from the chair. Take a breath in, reach both arms up. Exhale, bend your knees a bit. Come forward, hands or forearms to the thighs or reaching toward the ground. And then we'll inhale and come all the way up. And exhale to release. So you can either just turn around so the other hand is on the chair, or you can take your chair, move it to the other side. Again, feet wide. You'll turn the foot that's closest to the chair towards the chair. Bend that knee and look down. Make sure the knee is over the ankle and you're pointing your knee straight at your chair. Your hips might turn a little bit, that's fine. Hand to the chair. You want to try to keep your shoulders square. If you're using a mat, it would be square to the long edge of your mat. So we'll reach up with the breath in. Exhale. Moving to the side. Use your hand on the chair or leg for support. Inhale up. Exhale to the side. Couple more. Remember, bend the elbow of the arm that's supporting you so you don't crank your shoulder into your ear. Right? And then this time you might stay for a couple of breaths. Pressing into that back heel. Arm options, or it could be behind the back. It could be straight up or reaching overhead. Breathing into that long side. And then eventually finding your way upright. Bringing the feet parallel to one another. Arms at your sides. And we'll do a few forward bends this time. Inhaling and lifting. Soften your knees as you go forward. Your hands can come to your thighs. Elbows to thighs or reach to the ground again. Let your head release. And then we'll inhale and lift. So we'll do this a few times. Exhaling forward. And inhaling, lifting. More time. And then you'll come all the way up. Again, like you're gathering all of that soft, clear light, bringing it back to the heart. And pausing here. Imagine the energy the clarity of the moon, taking on those qualities as you focus on the moon and breathe in that energy. And then we'll lift the hands, breathing in, exhale, and release. Bring your feet in a little closer. You can bring your hands to your hips. And we'll do some circles for the hips. Circle one way and then reverse, go the other way. Okay, and then let's come back to the center. And we'll bring the feet in side by side. I'm going to move my chair back to the other side. So you can do the same if you like. So with feet together, we're going to try to keep the hips more or less level. You can keep one hand on the chair, maybe the other one onto the hip. We'll shift the weight onto the leg that's closest to the chair. We're going to lift the leg out to the side and bring it back down. So lifting and bring it back down. You'll probably feel the muscles of your glutes working a little bit. You can try holding here out to the side. Don't strain. So it's actually a lot more work than it looks like to hold the leg to the side. Great, and then bring it down, and you can shake both legs out. And then we'll go to the other side. So again, you're holding your chair for support, putting weight down into both feet. The other hand can come onto the hip. You'll shift the weight to the foot closest to your chair. And then without kind of leaning your body, try to just lift the leg to the side. So you're just lifting and lowering that leg. Maybe hold for a couple of breaths. Shoulders relaxed. And release. And give your legs a shake. Bend and straighten the legs a few times. Great. I'm going to keep moving my chair side to side to keep going back and forth. You can either just turn around or do the same. So again, we're going to come back to this position with the feet a little wider. And going back to the position where we took one foot and took it towards the chair. I might go a little bit further away from your chair right now, so you can just reach with your fingertips. And then bending that knee, we'll lift up with the opposite arm, shift the weight onto that front foot, lift the back leg, and come down. So you can even start without holding the chair, bend the knee, reach up, and use the chair for support as you go to the side. I call this shooting star pose. I don't know if it has a name. It's really just a transition. So here, reaching up, we're stepping onto that foot, reaching up with that back leg. So now we are tipping a little bit toward the chair. Moving towards our half moon pose. So once you've tried that a few times on one side, I invite you to set yourself up to go the other way. So either turn around or move your chair. You'll take the other foot, and you want to be a little further from the chair this time. Foot point at the chair, a little bend in your knee, or reach up, shift the weight, and lift. And step back. So reaching up, shifting, and stepping back. One more. Great. And then come back to the center. Bring the feet in, shake it out. Bend and straighten a few times. So we'll try this pose again. This time coming into the pose and maybe staying in the pose, called half moon pose. You can either do it as we did with the hand at the top of the chair, or if you want, and it feels right for you to go a little deeper into the pose, you can bring your hand onto the seat of the chair or even onto a block on the floor. So if it feels like too much for you, don't hold the pose. You can go back to what we did a moment ago, just going in and out of the pose. So find the expression of the pose that works for you. So again, feet a little wider. We'll turn one foot towards the chair. Bend that knee slightly. Arms to the sides. Breathing in. As you exhale, let's bring the hand to the chair. I'm going to reach for the back of the chair so I can kind of wrap my fingers around, make it easier on my wrist. You can also reach for the top of the chair. When you feel confident there, shift your weight onto your front foot. You might need to move your hand forward along the chair and see about lifting the back leg, coming into half moon pose. And so for you, it might look a little different. It might be more like this. That's fine. You can drop down if you like. Find that pose that works for you. When you come up, you can bring the foot down and lift the hand. Turn the feet parallel and release. Great. Let's try the other side. So don't worry if you wobble or lose your balance. You just come back into the pose or find a version that works for you. So feet wide, turn one foot towards your chair, finding just the right angle for the back foot and bending your front knee. So when you bend your front knee, you want the knee over the ankle. You don't want to go further than that, which puts undue strain on your knee. Arms to the side, you're breathing in. As you exhale, you're reaching for your chair, finding your stability there. And then when you're ready, you can lift the back leg and come into any version of this half moon pose that works for you. Breathing. So again, if you lose your balance, that's fine. If you're wobbling, you might just come to a slightly easier version. You're just lifting the foot maybe an inch or even keeping the toes on the ground. All great variation. When you're ready, you place the foot down, come back to the center, turn your feet parallel, release your arms. So here you can do a forward bend freestanding, or if you like, you can turn toward your chair, which I will demonstrate. Then we'll come up with a breath in and exhale, hands to the chair, head coming down. Could be hands to the knees instead. Lifting up with the breath in. You really want to make sure you bend your knees on lowering and lifting. It's going to make things a little easier and keep the lower back from overuse. Feel like you can stay in that forward bend. It could be hands on your chair. You might be closer to the chair and sort of a half forward bend. You might walk from the chair and let the head come down between the arms. You may rest with your elbows or hands on your knees or reach toward the ground. So find a version of the forward bend that feels good to you. And stay there for a few breaths. When you're ready to come up, inhale, lift all the way up, and exhale to release. So coming to mountain pose, your feet under your hips, shoulders dropping down away from the ears, crown of the head reaching up toward the sky. And take a few breaths here, feeling the length of your body. We've stretched the sides of the body quite a bit today, and really focused on the breath to open up some room in the sides of the waist and the hips and the rib cage, armpits. Notice what you're aware of now. We're going to make our way down onto the mat. So if you've got a chair, you may want to just get that out of the way now. Come down onto your back. You can use a pillow or a blanket under your head if you need that support. And as you come down to the ground, you might bring your knees in toward your chest. Maybe do some side to side movement or some circles. Letting your body settle. Massaging the low back a little bit. And the hips after the effort of the standing work. And then let your feet come to the ground. And take a moment. You can let the hands rest on the ground or on your body, whatever is comfortable for you. Take a moment and imagine yourself lying under the moon, like you're moon bathing. We all know about sunbathing, but we can also moon bathe. So take a moment to imagine your moon, whether it's full or a half moon or a sliver of moon. Imagine that silvery light shining down over you, bringing with it clarity, ease, and peace. Breathing in that silvery light into your body. And then let's take the arms to the side if they're not there already. And we'll move into a gentle twist as if we could wring out the tension in our bodies. Allow more space for that silver, clear light of the moon to be present with us, for us to be present with it. So taking a breath in here. As you exhale, let your knees go to one side. Imagine you're wringing out the tension very gently. And then back to center as you breathe in. Exhale, going the other way. And then back to center. Going side to side like this, keeping the shoulders, the face, the neck relaxed. You can turn your head away from your knees as you go side to side if that feels good for you, or just keep the head centered. Right, and eventually make your way back to the center. And then again, we'll bring the knees toward the chest, and you can take one hand to each knee this time. Move the knees away as you breathe in, straightening the arms. And then bend the elbows, draw the knees in as you exhale. Inhaling, knees move away from you. Exhaling, knees move in. And you can stay with that movement if you like, or if you want to switch it up, you can stretch the legs up, either reaching behind the thighs, out to the side or overhead, and then back into the center. A few more, whichever version you've chosen. Okay, let's keep one knee in toward the chest, bring the other foot to the floor. And then let your hands relax to the ground, or they could rest on your body. And we'll stretch that one leg up so you feel just a gentle stretch. It may still be bent, and that's fine. Circle your ankle around. Circle one way and then the other. Great. Press that heel towards the ceiling, and then take the opposite arm. Circle the wrist. One way and then the other. And then bend that knee and bring your hand onto your knee. Give it a little squeeze. And then we'll stretch opposite arm and leg away from each other on the ground. Breathing in, reaching that diagonal line through the body. And then exhale, lower the arm and bend the knee. And then other leg coming in and move it straighter, not straight necessarily. Circle your ankle around. A few circles one way and then a few circles the other way. Press the heel up toward the ceiling and then take the opposite arm. Circle your wrist. Again, both directions. Right, and then bend the knee, opposite hand to knee. So give a little squeeze in. And then stretch them out. Take a few breaths here as you reach across that diagonal line from one foot to the opposite hand. And then we'll lower the arm and bend the knee. And then one more time, knees to chest, hands to knees, either repeating any of the movements that we've done already, or simply holding the knees and breathing here, whatever would feel good. Couple more breaths, any movement or stillness, if that feels better. And then when you feel ready, you can release the feet to the ground, and we'll prepare for Shavasana. So you can have the knees bent, straighten the legs if you prefer. Arms can rest on your body or the ground. You may want to cover up with a blanket if you don't have the warmest space. And if you also prefer, you could sit for this last part of the class. So the main thing is that you're comfortable and that you can find a position where you're able to be alert and steady, but comfortable. So if we're too comfortable, sometimes we fall asleep. And if we're not comfortable enough, it's hard to focus and stay present because we want to shift and keep looking for that comfort. So do the best you can to be as comfortable as possible, and then allow your body to settle into that position. Once you find your way there, you might take a little longer to settle. That's fine, take your time. But once you get there, find your way to an awareness of your breath again. Breathing in the fullness, like you're breathing in the fullness of the moon. As you exhale, letting go, coming to figuratively a space of emptiness like the new moon. So each breath, we could visualize almost taking us through those phases from the new moon, breathing into the fullness of the full moon, from the full moon, exhaling and coming into that soft, quiet place of the new moon, the darkness. We need both. That contrast is what kind of keeps us alive, keeps us lively. Or we go into the darkness and we just wish for more light. And when it's too bright and we're too busy and there's too much going on, we long for that dark, quiet place of going inward. So letting your breath create a kind of balance energetically and physically, breathing into the fullness of the full moon, exhaling into the quiet darkness, the renewal place of the new moon. With each exhale, as you drop into that quiet, contemplative place, feel your body soften. And with each inhalation, feel the expansiveness, the openness, the receptiveness. Being open to that clarity, to that vision, to that ease that the full moon offers us through its magic. Exhaling into the contemplative, the darkness, going inward. And you can stay with this breath and this visualization as you allow your body to soften around the breath. Allow the shoulders and arms to drop, the weight of your head to release, the neck and jaw to soften. Drop down through your rib cage and soften your belly. Relax down through the pelvis and hips and feel all the muscles of your buttocks, the lower belly, and all around the hips softening and relaxing. Let your thighs soften and your knees release. Calves, ankles, and feet let go. And as you exhale, notice wherever you may be holding tension and soften even a little bit more wherever possible. Let each exhalation soften you even more. Each inhalation connecting with the expansive light of the moon. And each exhalation, the softness, going inward. Share with you a couple of pieces of chants. One that reminds us that the moon nourishes the mind, which nourishes the heart and our connection to all that is. And the other that reminds us of our wholeness, our completeness, whether we're able to see that in each moment or not. Chandrama me manasi shritaha mano hridaye hridayam vai aham amrite Amritam Brahmani. Purnamida Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Let your breath now be a little deeper, a little fuller, like the moon coming to fullness. Never straining, never forcing, just allowing the breath to fully inhabit you. In whatever amount feels right for you. If you choose to stay longer in Shavasana, feel free to stay. If you're ready to move, you can bring a little movement to your fingers and toes. Gradually move your limbs, stretch and move in any way that would feel good. And then eventually, if you are lying down, you might roll onto your side, pause there to adjust, and then take your time to come back to sitting at your own pace. And again, if you just want to lie there a little longer and really absorb the vibes of the practice, then go for it. Take your time. And if you've come to sitting, you might again take the arms to the sides and imagine that beautiful full moon as you lift the arms and gather the light and the energy of that moon and bring it to your heart as if you could hold that expansive, clear, bright energy close to your heart, in your heart, to provide nourishment for your body, for your mind, for your heart, for your soul, as we move into the darker time of the year. Interesting, the sun, of course, we see less of it in the northern hemisphere this time of year, but the moon doesn't shift. We see it just as much all year long. Maybe even more in the winter because more of its phases happen when it's dark out. So holding that moon in your heart and all of its energy, carrying it with you through your week. Namaste.